the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ.06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
We fixed it.
We're back. We are so back. We are so back.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cross Politics on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. It's Advent. Merry Christmas.
We actually got the
Pastor
right
Toby
music.
Tuck Knox. I'm the Water Boy. And we got President Ben Merkle from New St. Andrews.
Yeah.
I know what
house
time
today
it is.
because apparently there's a lot of anti-Semitism going on college campuses.
Oh,
and it's like deep-seated in the presidents.
Is that?
Yeah, that's
So we brought Dr. Merkle in.
It's an
to find
intervention,
out-
huh? I see how it is.
it's a presidential problem.
He said I was just coming over for cinnamon rolls.
That's what he tells everyone.
How well you
And
pass
pickles.
this test.
I did say pickles, too.
In Genesis chapter 2, verse 10 through 12, God tells of the gold in the land of Havilah, and that the gold of that land is good. Ever since the dawn of our father's world, gold has been universally recognized as true money.
Gold, hallelujah.
And therefore the most reliable store of savings. Cross Politics corporate partner, Alps Precious Metals, enables their clients to protect their God-given, hard-earned wealth from the serious financial problems that are upon us. Alps provides the Cross Politic family with the best strategies and solutions for investing in physical precious metals. As a result, you can enjoy a peace of mind that can be had with few other investments. You can call our friend James Hunter at Alps at 251-377-2197, or just maybe send him a text or something. 251-377-2197, and visit our website at Alps PMC. No, sorry, I read that wrong. Alps PMG. AlpsPMG.com. You can fix the camera now if you want to. All right, one more thing. For those in the Flathead Canyon area in Montana, Christ Canyon Fellowship of Martin City, Montana is hosting every third Tuesday Psalms. This is funny. They spelled it. It's Psalms, Pasoups, and Pasandwiches. Or Psalm soups and sandwiches. Got that?
P.
See what
That's
they
Psalms.
like Smith in the City.
Yeah.
You know, like
Okay.
you know. Anyways, December
good.
19th. That's next Tuesday.
Is this a CREC church or just
It's
a
not,
friendly? Just
but
a friendly
they're
church?
a friendly church.
Oh,
right
very cool.
up near Glacier.
Flathead area. There's beautiful Flathead Lake up there. And everything.
So call or
cool.
text
Yeah.
Isaac at 406-270-3045. Isaac at 406-270-3045, or email him at isaac@christcanyonfellowship.com for some Psalms, soups, and sandwiches next Tuesday.
Soups and sandwiches.
Yeah.
Man, we got some brave advertisers.
I know.
I'm just
Just giving their numbers out.
Gonna put my cell phone out there.
Hey, we're going to do a giveaway because it's Christmas time.
Yes. And we got Cross Politic goodie bags.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know where they're from, and are we going to say their last names?
I still don't know where they're from because I got to get the data and I just haven't had time.
Every day, every show during Christmas, we're giving away gifts to all our pub members.
Yep.
So everybody that's already a pub member, you're getting you're in the drawing for a gift. And if you're not yet a pub member, you can.
That's right.
Last show of the year, Wive Show.
Yes.
We're going to be giving away 30 free tickets to next year's Fight Laugh Feast conference.
ProdigalAmerica.com.
in Fort Worth, Texas.
ProdigalAmerica.com.
Okay. All right, Gabe. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
The winner of the first goodie bag today is for this show is Chris D.
Really sorry about those other people we said your last names.
That is.
I did accidentally say their last names yesterday.
I don't know. Chris D.
Chris D.
D is not his last name, like
Chris,
D-E-E.
it starts with a D. So
Okay.
it's like
Chris.
D-Easy off the
Make
easy
cheese
for
good
cheesy. Chris D.
Correct.
right.
And he won a gift bag.
Yeah, goodie bag.
what's
It's
it?
magazine, coffee mugs, pins, stickers, all that fun
Magazine.
stuff. Yeah.
By the way, when you come to the studio, this is kind of what you get. Like, you get a goodie bag.
Yeah.
And this is kind of our studio gift. So
All right. We're really grateful to have with us today Dr. Ben Merkle. He's the president, El Presidente, of New St. Andrews College, as well as fellow of theology. Actually, you're a senior fellow now, aren't you?
I guess I am. Yeah.
So senior fellow, update the bio, guys. He holds a DPhil in Oriental Studies and an MST in Jewish Studies. Oh, so that's why we have him on the show.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that part.
We
I
just
didn't know
made
that
the
part.
connection.
Oh, you see what's going on.
That was an accident.
From Oxford University, England, an MA degree in English Lit, and also he's got a letter from Greyfriars Hall, and a BS in Education and Secondary Education Chemistry, minor in History from the University of Idaho. He's a teaching elder at Christ Church, Moscow, regularly preaches at the downtown service, the CCD, as we call it around here. And he and his wife, Rebekah, have 5 kids and any grandkids? Yeah.
One is, well, 2 are on the way.
2?
But one's coming in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
We're on deck.
Two
Wow.
in the oven, and one's about done.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
All
man.
right.
That is
Exactly.
awesome.
So, El Presidente, Grandpa.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Are you
right.
going to be going by Grandpa or Papa or do you know?
I'm still pulling for El Jefe.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I put that one out there every time. Nobody's really taken me up on that yet, but
Just us, huh? Okay.
kids look
What
at
you do
like
is you just start giving those grandkids candy.
Yeah,
Whenever they
exactly.
say El Jefe, you give them candy.
that's the plan. That's the
Papa's
plan.
dog, hey, this is going to work.
Oh my goodness! So we've been watching some of this excitement going down in higher education, in American universities at least. Harvard.
Well, 3 universities were called to testify.
Yeah.
MIT, Penn State, and Harvard to Congress on the
particularly on kind of anti-Semitism,
Right.
and so
on the Palestinian basically protests on their campuses.
So Neil, go ahead and roll the clip, and then we want to ask you about this, Ben.
Okay.
Dr. Kornbluth, at MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules?
That would be investigated as harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
Yes
speech
or no?
becomes if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, targeted at an individual.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of antisemitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment?
Then we get
yes
the whip.
or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric. When
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
So this happened was the last Tuesday, I believe this happened, and it's just been boiling over.
And the gal in the center is the president of
UPenn.
and she's actually
So
resigned now.
Here's her, but right before she resigned, she dropped this video.
When I was asked if a call for the genocide of Jewish people on our campus would violate our policies. In that moment, I was focused on our university's longstanding policies aligned with the U.S. Constitution, which say that speech alone is not punishable. I was not focused on, but I should have been, the irrefutable fact that a call for genocide of Jewish people is a call for some of the most terrible violence human beings can perpetrate. It's evil, plain and simple. I want to be clear. A call for genocide of Jewish people is threatening, deeply so. It is intentionally meant to terrify a people who have been subjected to pogroms and hatred for centuries and were the victims of mass genocide in the Holocaust. In my view, it would be harassment or intimidation. For decades, under multiple Penn presidents and consistent with most universities, Penn's policies have been guided by the Constitution and the law. In today's world, where we are seeing signs of hate proliferating across our campus and our world in a way not seen in years, these policies need to be clarified and evaluated. Penn must initiate a serious and careful look at our policies, and Provost Jackson and I will immediately convene a process to do so. As president, I'm committed to a safe, secure, and supportive environment so all members of our community can thrive. We can and we will get this right. Thank you.
Her pronouns are now was were.
Gay. That was actually good. All right. So, Dr. Merkle, how did they, how should they have answered? Did they answer right? What's your take on this?
Well, it's funny because listening to the testimony the day of and then watching all of the
Clips
the backpedaling the next day. And it was really funny how you can just tell these people actually, they don't know what their answer is until the committee tells them. You know what I mean? You can tell that each of them felt like when they were coming to the microphone, I'm doing that bold thing that everybody will circle around me and say, good job. And then they go back and it's like, oh, that was wrong. Oh, okay. And then they come up with the new answer that they're supposed to give. One thing that's, I think, really important is to actually have an opinion yourself, like to actually have convictions yourself. You should have the kind of convictions where you don't give a rip if everybody says that's wrong. You know what you stand for. So I think that's one of the things that you see in college presidents, and increasingly a lot of our institutional leadership has the exact same problem where you achieve that position by having demonstrated the skill of compliance over decades, the ability to appease committees and organizations and whatnot. You can demonstrate compliance. That's how they get into these positions. And then you ask somebody who's spent 30 years of their professional life perfecting that ability to always achieve whatever is the temperature in the room, and to always do that so perfectly, and then ask that person, now suddenly, I need you to have a defiant bone, to stand up and for this conviction. It's just impossible for, I think, most of our institutional leadership. That's not what they were selected or bred for.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that's true. Do you think that, as I was watching this, because as a producer, I go back and I look at all the content. What wasn't shown, watching all the clips come out afterwards, I went back and watched a lot more context around this. And it seems like, at least for Professor or Dr. Gay, even the lady who's at UPenn, I don't think that they were supporting, it got played on social media like they were supporting the hate speech or the Palestinian idea to end Hamas, like Jews. And that's actually not what they were supporting at all. They were actually said, I'm opposed to it. That's not our position. We disagree with the speech and the language. Those clips didn't get put on social media, but the right clips got put out there to make it look like that they supported the eradication of the Jews.
Interesting.
And so the clips that they're showing, there actually was a couple of rounds of this where, Gay is saying, hey, I think this is wrong and abhorrent speech. Like, this is horrible speech. But what I'm trying to make the distinction about, and she didn't say it exactly like this, but if you, okay, forgive me for trying to think the best of people here. But if you put it into a context where these aren't orcs, then she's saying, I need something actionable in order to be able to say this has stepped beyond the line. And I think all of them were trying to communicate, listen, we don't like the speech, horrible speech, but they haven't done anything that says this is an actionable item. And I think they have this mindset like this because of how they view themselves as an institution like the government. You heard when the UPenn person said, our lines
aligns with the Constitution.
Yeah. But the problem is you are not the government. And this goes back into institutions and taking the money from the government where you act like it. You actually can police thoughts because you train people in thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. That is one of the problems. If you take that pure libertarian kind of perspective where there's where everything has to be neutrality, I think you run into it's the impossibility of neutrality ultimately. Yeah. I mean, I think we all have to have we all have speech laws that we believe that's offensive, that shouldn't be allowed here. I think it's really interesting that not just a little bit ago, I think it was Hillsdale got in trouble with, is it FIRE? The group that does freedom of speech. Right. And they were saying, look, you don't allow all opinions on your campus. And Hillsdale, I think rightly says, yeah, that's right. We're a Christian school. You come here and we're going to give you a Christian worldview. And I think that's how it would be at NSA. Right. I want our students, we were having this conversation not too long ago inside the administration where if you're going to be a faculty member at NSA, you need to sign our statement of faith and you need to be ready to adhere to it. And if you violate that, there should be consequences of it. At the same time, if you want to be a speaker on our campus, you need to be interesting. I want our students to be exposed to a variety of different things. Not every speaker or author that they read has to subscribe to our statement of faith. So you have teachers that are mentors that are mentoring you in a particular worldview, but they're mentoring you in how to encounter the rest of the world. So you can have like widely varying worldviews that you're encountering while having an administration and a faculty that are all marching in the same direction.
It seems like, I wonder, Knox, you watched some of these other videos and stuff, and again, trying to get the benefit of the doubt. At the same time, I wonder, so if this is a pro-life protest, saying you're murdering babies, right? You're murdering babies. Yeah. Would they have the same response?
That's where you're going to hit the impossibility of neutrality. They pretend that they're neutral until you touch them on the eye, on the god of the system.
Well, but part of the problem is these presidents don't pass that kind of sniff test. I mean, remember
that's exactly right.
Last 10 years on college campus, they've created sleeping pods. They've created safe spaces. They've created, if something traumatizes you as a student on campus, they got a room for that. They got a coloring book
break
for
out
that.
The therapy puppies.
And therapy puppies and all that. And then, of course, if Matt Walsh shows up to Harvard University, well, they're sending out apology letters and, that kind of, or they're canceling the event.
So do you think that's what Representative Stefanik, is that her name? Stefanik, is that what she's sensing, though? Like this sort of double standard where she's sensing that there is a
I don't think she's that smart.
A friendliness to the Palestinian, there's the whole, it's like.
That's not how they communicate it,
The BLM Hamas thing is kind of a thing, right? Yeah. I mean, I haven't followed it closely, but it's kind of cool to be like more on the side of Hamas.
But if you go back and you look, a lot of the people who are Palestinian on these campuses feel like that they are not being supported either. So, so it depends on but I think there's something else going on here. I think this is a mob thing, and boy, I'm not going to get any likes for this one. But I think there's two different. They haven't done themselves any favors in being inconsistent and not having an objective standard.
Right.
And so then now when the mob comes for them because they're not, like you said, they've just been the yes man or just doing the thing and following the institution. Now the mob is like, well, what are you going to say about this? And they fall apart. Well,
and now you're talking about like the mob that supports the Jews now instead of versus the mob that supports the Palestine.
Or for instance,
it's just mobs on both sides.
The homosexual movement and the LGBT folks have come in and said, you're going to call us by our pronouns. And there's a guy on campus said, no, I won't. They're like, that's hateful. We shouldn't have him on the campus. Right. Security, we want you around him all the time. He's always causing trouble around here. Right. Get him out of here. Like, that's one thing. So they've been inconsistent.
Right.
What happened to his free speech? What happened to a load of Christians coming on and saying, we will not allow transgender surgeries, period. Like, that's hate speech. We got to get those guys out of here.
Right.
But now they're like, hey, listen, this is a speech. Like, we don't have the code on this, guys.
We're waiting for the actionable item.
But Keith Darrell shows up on campus.
Right. And so I think now their worldview, inconsistent worldviews, when they start becoming consistent with themselves, fall apart. And that's what's happening, I think, right now.
Yeah.
The Stefanik is seeing the opportunity to point something out and
score some points.
Right, and score some points. And I think it's challenging because I think they're trying to say we need to see something that happens to an individual to be able to act on it. They don't know what their institution is or what it's for.
Right.
And so they don't. I think we were talking about this, and I've been trying to struggle with this, but you have a government needs someone to actually police thoughts. Now, we look to the government to police thoughts. They're supposed to police crimes, things that physically happen.
Right.
The other governments that police thoughts are the church and the family. Right? That's what.
And by extension, businesses.
And by extension,
And so businesses are extension of the family, right? But schools are extension of the family one way or another, right? And so those things, or you can even say the church, they work together with those things.
Right.
But so they should be policers of thought. Right. And so, but they're trying to work themselves out. And I think this is the merger of the government coming in to be part of the educational system. They consider themselves to be like government. So then they don't know where their limitations should go beyond where government should go.
Well, they're funded by the government essentially. Yeah. And so they are extensions of the government.
So
Penn State and Harvard were private entities when they started.
Right.
So what happens though, like if let's say, how should colleges work when it comes to free speech? Can you have a group of people who say, what would be our scenario? Christian nationalists, I don't know, a group that becomes so strong where they become more radical. We're like, okay, we want to kick out all the people who are not white, right? Everybody who's not white, they got to go from America. Period. We got to eradicate them from our country.
Even though the white people were indigenous in a sense.
So I guess what I'm trying to say, what is a scenario by which speech is allowed on even Christian campuses? How should we be thinking about that?
Yeah, well, your analogy of looking at the different governments, family, church, I think that's a helpful one because I think about as a family, how did we move our kids from wanting to root them deeply in their faith to then being able to encounter the world around them. It meant that there were appropriate things at different levels.
Dad brought in to challenge the kids or something like that.
Yeah, well, like at a very young level, we're just trying to root them in their faith, helping them to understand the world they live in through the lens of Scripture. And then what happens is then they start encountering things that doesn't seem to fit with this, and we help them process it. And then you move on to them being able to watch movies, listen to songs, read books that, at a younger age they wouldn't have been able to. So it's about building a certain kind of foundation, and then from that allowing them to engage the world. So that by the time they leave the house, they should be ready to encounter whatever is out there. So it's not like you're trying to keep them protected from encountering other ideas, but you're just trying to get them built up. So I think in an institution like a school, I think it's right. It's not going to be the same thing, but it's right to have layers that you're building things up. So like, for instance, at NSA, we would say, the board, the faculty, the staff all subscribe pretty closely to a statement of faith that's explicitly reformed and we're very like-minded on certain things. We're all attending Reformed churches, but the student body we would open up to general evangelical Protestant, and then but then they're going to read and listen to things that are from all over the world.
Darwin to
exactly. Yeah, it's funny how
Augustine.
many our students will have read Darwin, whereas the pagan universities
they'll read Darwin.
They'll believe in Darwinism, but they won't have actually read it. Yeah. So I think it's just about figuring out like where do we need to draw lines so that we can build the foundation that we want. I know of schools that would be Christian schools that would require that their faculty to ascribe to a statement of faith, but might let non-Christian kids in. That's not what we do at NSA. Our judgment is we do our best job the way we have things are arranged, but I don't necessarily fault an institution that would take that different kind of approach. But I think you're building people up, and you have different kind of levels of agreement at different places. I think our churches work the same.
All right, I've got a follow-up question, but first I've got an ad, and then you have an ad. So I'm going to do my ad, and then while I'm doing my ad,
not about New St. Andrews.
Get ready for your ad.
It's not.
The Tactics Conference is coming up. Learn how to build Christ's kingdom for those who are doing it. Join C.R. Wiley, the campus preacher Keith Darrell, Gabe Wrench, Chocolate Knox. Man, he's going to be there, and me for 2 days of boots on the ground training on how to take your community for Christ. Yeah, I know. Sorry.
And me.
Great talks, great food, and great people. Well, mostly great people. Come see us in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's only about 2.5 hours east of Houston, Texas on January 19th and 20th. And take note, seating is limited. Families are welcome. Come experience some Cajun hospitality while we labor together to build the new Christendom. Beer and psalms, panel discussions, Cajun dancing, which I still am really curious about. Go to tacticscon.com. Tacticscon.com to buy your tickets today and use the coupon code FLF Pub to get $20 off your ticket price. That's tacticscon.com. We'll see you in South Louisiana.
Little stocking stuffer.
This January.
Stocking stuffer.
Yeah.
Hey.
Tickets to conference in Louisiana. Who doesn't want to go to Louisiana in January?
I know.
All right. And now a word from Ben Merkle.
So it's not fair because you got a script. You got an actual script to read. I'm just going to make it up. Men. Do you call yourself a covenant head? Seriously? How have you prepared for this Christmas? How have you equipped your wife to celebrate this Advent season? Well, let me help you. You need to go to RebekahMerkle.com. Is that it?
Yeah, Rebekah. I'm double checking for you.
RebekahMerkle.com.
You should probably spell it Rebekah so people know.
REBEKAH.
Yeah, the H,
Yeah,
at the end.
RebekahMerkle.com, where you can find...
That's beautiful. A table runner.
Okay, the table runner is the big thing.
That's the big thing right now?
That's the thing just dropped. The table runner.
Yeah, beautiful.
It goes down the middle of your table to make it all nice for Advent.
It's a nice Christmas blue.
Table runners are important.
Ooh. What's that?
Table runners are important.
Very important. Okay. And if you can't use it there, you could use it as a stole for Epiphany.
Facts. I like this. Dual usage.
So some of the more higher liturgical brethren.
I just do that for family worship. Yeah. I just put that joke on.
Family worship. There's where it goes.
RebekahMerkle.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Good.
It's not too late.
Thanks, Ben.
There you go.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so this
Okay, you got the question.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is a great setup, actually, my question. So you started by talking about the problem with our higher institutions is we got these people who got there by spending their lives basically complying. Mm-hmm. Comply with what everyone says is the
consensus,
the right
group
answer.
The political acumen.
And then they get to the moment that where they need to have an opinion and conviction, and they don't.
fall apart.
Or they think they do, but then turns out the survey says they're wrong.
Which is why COVID, they all wore a mask and all that stuff.
And then I think it's really helpful for you to point out the fact that what the part of what we're doing then is we're practicing to create this culture all the way down in our families. So families are practicing culture by teaching their kids, even young kids, to begin be rooted in what you believe, what you know, and then introduce you to a new idea, maybe a slightly different idea. Sometimes it's full-on unbelief. Sometimes it's a different version of Christianity, and you're having to help them, and they grow up in that. And then ultimately, that's what we're trying to do at the college level, which strikes me then that fundamentally we need men who have conviction.
Yeah.
So if we're going to have colleges, churches, businesses where you have leaders, and particularly men who have conviction, who know what they believe, and they don't care what the survey says, how would you counsel men to cultivate that?
Yeah. So I think one of the first things, just going back to the earlier conversation here, is just notice how fickle the consensus of the crowd is.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of, this is deep in evangelicalism, is that we believe that we are best at our faith when we are compelling to the crowd around us. So at the worst, you get like that kind of over the top, seeker sensitive, whatever. Yeah. But then you also get just this kind of sense of evangelical niceness, that if I'm appeasing the crowd in front of me, then I'm making the gospel winsome. I'm making it this thing that is powerful. But you need to understand that the crowd's consensus is so fickle, and you will do everything you can to turn yourself into this one kind of person, and show up, and it turns out everybody's dressed differently. And if you're trying to please that, you're going to regularly be going out of date. And so because of that, I think the real trick is, and the way I always think about it is just the simple gaze towards Christ, that your eye has to be on God. And I find this frequently when I'm in difficult decision-making moments or trying to sort through a problem. I try to be as clear in my mind that, okay, I really just only want to please God with this. And so my eye is on him, and I'm consciously trying to strip away other things that might be competing for my attempt to appease this or that.
Yeah. That's right.
But you want to have a conscious gaze towards God, which I think requires a very devout kind of private life, that you've got to actually be in the Word. Not hearing about what other people say the Bible says, but you actually have to be in the Word yourself. You have to be in prayer yourself. You have to be constantly talking to God about what this means and how it's going to apply to my life. And then you want to model that for your family, that you're somebody who, most of all, I want to please God, and everything else is kind of second to that.
Right. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Exactly.
If we want to have wisdom in the big things, we've got to have wisdom starting with the little things. And that means, and the fear of the Lord is what then teaches you not to fear man. The fear of man is a snare, Proverbs says.
That's why I think that the whole concept of the Overton window is so important for evangelicals to get, because if you are captured by niceness, then you will always feel like you have to be inside that window, which means you are so easily steered. They can do whatever they want with you, and you have to. I found COVID to be such a good thing for our community, and especially for my kids. Because for my kids to learn, like, okay, it's okay when I see this is the truth and everybody is being stupid, I'm going to learn to just not care about what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
Amen.
No, I agree. It was good for my family too. Yeah. And I mean, even like through the arrests, like my kids watching the arrests, like it was like, you were a hero, like the Bonets were heroes to my kids, and like just watching, like that's what courage looks like. Yeah. I think it's shaped them in very profound ways. It's really good.
I remember one point, my son came home, he'd just been at Walmart, I think. It's like, oh, he wore just a mask and snorkel and flippers.
That's how you win.
And I was like, that's it's good to learn to not care. Yeah. As long as, and this is the thing, you do have to be careful. There is a perverse delight that you can get in just offending people. It is, you can find fun. In that. And I don't want them to cultivate that, but I do want them to know, like, when I see the truth and I'm mocked for the truth, I'm going to enjoy the mockery, because this is really important to stand for.
Because I'm doing what is right.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if I've told you this story. I've told it a few times, but actually when many, many years ago, you and Rebekah had us over for dinner.
Okay.
And
long time ago. You
probably don't even remember.
We didn't do that
again. And
only once.
Knox was probably like 2 or 3.
Okay.
And we didn't have kids yet. And we're sitting there around your dinner table, and it's like, Knox, maybe you had a baby in a car seat. I don't know how old they were and everything. We were talking after dinner, and Knox comes walking through the dining room, and then you say, oh, excuse me. And you got up and you went out and got him. And then a minute later, you carry him back in, and he's, kind of wiping his eyes. And I was like, well, and he comes in and he walks over to the vacuum cleaner and kicks it. And then walks out, and we're all looking at you, and you said, he's a little bit scared of the vacuum cleaner right now. So the rule is every time he sees the vacuum cleaner, he has to kick it.
I forgot. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Wow.
But I'm just saying, like, maybe we could start another spanking gate here, but I'm serious. Like, what were you training for?
Yeah,
you're training for COVID.
Courage. Yeah.
You're training your 2 or 3 year old son.
Yeah.
For running an institution. To know what is right and wrong, and to not give into his emotions and his fears, and to rule those things and fight dragons.
Yeah, I remember that with Docs. It was it was like a really kind of strange freak out when the vacuum cleaner came on. I was like, son, we can't, we're not gonna be like that. So the rule was every time we walked by, he had to knock it down.
Yeah.
And it was great because it got to where like he took real delight in like kicking the snot out of that vacuum cleaner.
You had to buy a new one.
I'm up for that.
I got one question, burning. Ben, with like the state of universities nationwide, in some sense, it's a little funny to me because you went to University of Idaho, I went to University of Idaho. Back in 2002, social justice was in the classroom. And all of a sudden now parents are crying foul. It's like, actually, you probably went through it too.
When my wife was there in 2001, 2002, they were already introducing homosexuality in elementary education classes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's been around forever, but the decline in universities has been going on longer than when we've been alive.
Yeah.
And of course NSA's kind of started as a not just a reaction, but as a solution to the current state of universities. And universities, you go through, you know this better than I do, but like Harvard was started as a Christian institution,
right.
Penn State.
Yep.
You go through and read a lot of the charters of the Greek life. And a lot of the fraternities and sororities were founded as Christian organizations to encourage growth in the Lord while on campus. And, what's NSA? NSA is obviously building against that.
Yeah.
But how do we change the broader university cultural climate? I don't know. This is kind of a difficult question to answer.
How do we reform higher ed?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's interesting, I've said this a couple of times, that I think if you were to look at the last 30, 40 years of the American Evangelical Church and the American Evangelical Church's engagement with culture, if you look at that, it looks to me like almost across the board, all we see are losses, institutional losses. We're losing movements all over the place, with one significant exception, and that's classical Christian education.
Yeah,
that is one place where we have been putting points on the board. It's funny to me now when I go to meetings of college presidents, how everybody is now trying to position themselves of, we're the leaders of classical Christian education. And it's all over the place. Colleges are trying to figure out how to get
students.
Yeah, they're the best. And they're trying to figure out how to get out and ahead. And one of the things I would say is we actually are starting to win. Now we've not had the impact at the college level the way we need to. But we've made tremendous gains, and it's all these just small, not very glamorous, lots of volunteers, these little private Christian schools that are really changing and doing something significant, and all the homeschooling that has happened.
Right.
That is so encouraging.
There's a huge change that's happened, but what's got to happen is, and this is the real challenge, I see a lot of these people have sacrificed greatly to get their kids this great K-12 education, who then see sending them off to an unbelieving college as the prize.
They made it into Harvard.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Like this is the prize they won.
As they're walking by the hummus rallies,
Yeah.
we call it hummus.
We're so excited. The hummus people.
But all their work is undone as they send them off to college. What we need to do is take what we've done and we make sure we hold the line and keep pushing it up through the colleges. Right. But I think we're going to see that over the next 20 to 30 years. We need to see what the work that's been done K-12. We need to push it through a college.
I think that's really good,
so
and it's really encouraging. I was thinking of you were talking about coaching basketball earlier, Gabe, and before the show, but like all the great coaches that come into a team that's been a wreck. It's like all the stories are all about, we're going to get back to fundamentals.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're going to dribble the ball and we're going to do layups.
Yep.
Like we're going to pass and we're going to, that's what we're going to do. Yep. Nothing flashy. But that's what you're doing when you're raising your kids in the Lord. You're going back to the basics. You're doing fundamentals, because that's what Deuteronomy 6 says. Love me with everything that you are and teach your kids all day long. And I think you're right. That's putting points on the board. Yeah. And if we'll be faithful to that and also follow through with that, it's going to have massive impact.
Yeah. Everybody needs to send their kids to New St. Andrews College, nsa.edu, nsa.edu.
And don't forget, RebekahMerkle.com.
Yeah, that's
right. Table runner / stole.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Ben. Yeah. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic. All right, man. Next time we talk about the whole antisemitism thing in colleges, how it's affecting the culture.
Well, bring your Jewish studies into this.
Shalom. We'll get there.
Hi, I'm Luke Ritchie. Wrong timeline. Okay, that's better. Time travel mechanics can get a little bit tricky. I'm Luke Ritchie, Chief Visionary Officer of Gravity Jack. In 2009, we founded Gravity Jack and essentially patented AR. What I'm about to tell you about is a vision that was 14 years in the making. War Tribe of Binyamin. This is a game that feels so real, it might be. It's a genre-defining game for AR and mobile and the Apple Vision Pro. We've integrated artificial intelligence not just into the characters in the game, but actually in the business model of War Tribe. So I love augmented reality games. They're one of my favorite. But the problem is it seems like they've added AR as an afterthought into the game. What if you sat down for 14 years and planned the entire thing around augmented reality? Games make a ton of money, and typically that money doesn't end up in the pocket of the players. We intend to change that. Lastly, and this is important, half the world has never and never will be targeted by big tech for an AI, natural language processing engine. We're definitely going to change that. War Tribe of Binyamin has gameplay like you've never seen before. We have portals opening everywhere, we have holographic communication, but what's really cool too is the world of 2133 is accurately geo-overlaid on the world of today. We're laser focused on ROI for our shareholders, which is you. One of the things we're doing that's super unique that's never been done before is taking 10% of in-game revenue monthly and giving it off as a dividend. The other co-founders and myself started Gravity Jack in 2009, but in 2007 we'd actually sold our company to a gaming company. We've hired the best of the best in terms of game development. Our director of development, product designer are all veterans in the gaming space. And not only that, we're going after a market that's gigantic. We're combining 4 huge major markets: artificial intelligence, augmented reality, translation, and gaming, all for a combined market value of $1.85 trillion.
Our incredible history has led us to be experts in mobile development, augmented reality, AI, gaming, and computer vision. It's been a wild ride here at Gravity Jack. A benefit to being so early on in augmented reality has led to a robust patent portfolio with active revenue and more to come. We've had the privilege of working with clients such as Oscar Mayer, Kraft, Lincoln, Samsung, T-Mobile. We've also worked on non-lethal Department of Defense contracts as well. We were a reference developer for Meta on the Oculus 2 directly, creating a game where other developers look to our source code for best practices. Early on in Gravity Jack's history, we did a game for Double Down Casino, and at the end of that contract, it was grossing $35 million a month. Our robust history has led us to be experts in augmented reality, AI, gaming, computer vision, and mobile development. Play to earn opportunities for the impoverished create an AI language model for unreached people groups, allowing us to have an eventual monopoly on speaking to half the planet. Our focus is shareholder dividends immediately after the game and into the future to create a game that's going to blow the world's minds. And we're pulling people out of poverty and into productivity. So what's the ask? Join the Binyamin.